Good morning and God morning. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. This is Leanne, aka Lola, which is an acronym that stands for Laugh Often, Love Always. And this is Buddhas and Butterflies. I'm your goddess guide to deep inner wisdom and deep soul transformation, and that's the Buddha and the butterfly. I was having some issues, and it's now 11:14, and I was supposed to come live at 11 o'clock, and it's 11:14, trying to get the computer to actually allow me to go live. So for 10 minutes, it just kept cycling, and I kept going out and coming back, and finally I just grabbed the phone, and I decided I would come live from the phone, even though it's not set up correctly. So just bear with me. Welcome to my channel. Today's talk is about 3 soul coaching steps for life change. It was supposed to be 6, but since we have some issues with the computer, I decided to cut it down to 3 since 3 is the number of creation. So we need 3 sides to make a triangle to take ourselves up and elevate ourselves to a higher dimension. So the first step, 1 million in the chat, 1 million likes. And for all the people that stop by this channel, this video, this is for you. If you've been brought here, it is because you needed to hear these 3 steps and these 3 soul coaching steps for life change. One is the first one is what influences you. Like, what is the natural pull for you to create something? What is your life purpose? So once you understand what influences you, you can start to intuit and determine what it is that you need to do. Now, for me, on my notes, I put what influences you and what programming are we subject to. So environment and surrounding has created a programming that runs inside of our mind that either helps or hurts our ability to create. So what influences you is a very important process to go through and to kind of question what influences you so that you can determine and you can determine how you need to go forward in creating the life you want. So for me, like, my influence is to influence other people, is to my life purpose and soul purpose is to fill people up with love to overflowing so that they can love themselves and they have enough love to give to all the people who are asking them to do 1,000 things. Like right now, while you're watching, somebody's texting you or somebody's calling your name, or there's 10,000 other things you could be doing. So what influences you is so important. And what it is that your soul is calling to do is so important. And the moment that you can figure out that life purpose, that thing that you do that you can make lots of money at, but it feels like just so much joy that you want to do it all the time. That is the thing that we're all supposed to be cultivating and creating and doing. And yet we get caught up in thinking that it's something that it's not. So number 1, what influences you? What is your program? So we talked about agreements, and in Don Miguel Ruiz's 4 Agreements, it talks about that we create agreements with other people's thoughts about us. And a lot of us live trying to satisfy other people and what they think we should be doing. And we live in this context of, if they're not happy about me, then I must be doing something wrong. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not how we should live life. Of course, we should be loving, but if we're not happy with the energy that we're putting out, and we're not happy with what influences us and how we're living in that influence, it's time to remove that from our life. So finding out your programming, finding out the mind chatter, finding out the agreements that you made that created number 2, which is number 2, okay, in the 3 steps to soul coaching for life change, is limiting beliefs. Once we find out the influence, what has influenced us, what has made that mind frame matrix programming start to run, we then find out what the limiting beliefs are that are attached to it. I come from a family that the majority of my family did not graduate from college. A lot of my grandfather was a carpenter. My grandmother wanted to be a nurse, but ended up not being a nurse. She did end up working. This is my mom's mom, my mama. When my grandmother came from Puerto Rico with 5 kids, she ended up not work, doing house stuff for a long time. And then finally, when they left Camden and went to Atlantic City, she ended up becoming a home, like health aide in an old folks home. And she stayed there for 27 years. She worked at night, she cleaned patients, she helped them feed them, all that stuff. So, in essence, she did sort of get to her dream and she loved her job. She never called out. Even when she was sick, she would still go. Um, and I remember watching her, and she really loved her job. So 27 years. Hey, Leilani Pulani. Hey, girly girl. Good morning. Talking about 3 soul coaching steps for life change. So the first one is what influences you, finding that thing that makes you really rock. And then number 2, and the programming that goes along with it. We're talking about my grandmother and coming from a family who worked really hard. We weren't rich, and see how I said we weren't rich? That's a programmed belief. That is that programming that's running through us. So the moment that we can hear those things, we weren't rich, money doesn't grow on trees, we didn't have a lot, but we were happy. See, that's programming. That's the influencing. Your influence or your program runs like a computer, just like the algorithm in YouTube or the computer or the cell phone has a program that is running itself so that it can record me. There's a recording program. There's the cell phone program itself. There's also the towers that the signal is sent to, which is sent to you. It's a whole big program. Okay. And see, this is why 3 soul coaching steps for life change helps us to create that creation so that we can ascend instead of descend. So we're in now step number 2, which is limiting beliefs. And see, this is where that comes from. Once we understand what influences us and what creates our programming, then we can also go into step 2, which is understanding the limiting beliefs and being able to dissolve them. Again, I just said, my grandmother didn't have a lot of money. We came from humble beginnings. These are limiting beliefs. And when the moment that for me, now that I'm starting to hear those programs, those limiting belief programs, I can do the work to sit in it. I can do the work, the affirmation work if I need to. I can do the different tools that are in my toolbox that I use to undo the programming, because I don't have to any longer think that, I'm an artist. So some of the stuff that you see behind me is my art that I paint. And I'm an artist. I went to art school, and I believed truthfully that artists starve, that artists don't make money, that artists go crazy and cut their ears off, that artists do all these things. And instead of being an actual painter or a singer or actor like I wanted to as a child, I went very left brain in art and decided to be an interior designer because there was a guaranteed money in interior design. So I followed the limiting belief that artists don't make money, that artists poor, that artists are crazy on the street, they're hypersexual, they are crazy, they do a lot of drugs. I thought all that was true. And it's not. There's many artists who create and who are creative and are completely sane and don't do drugs and make lots of money. And, for instance, I have a Mac computer. Apple, the person who created was an artist at the end of the day. The mind of an artist created these billion-dollar products. So if they can do it, I can too, but I have to erase the limiting belief that I can't do that. So number 3 is identifying the ego and the attachment to roles. So the moment that we get into this step for, soul coaching for life change is when we identify these ego and attachment to roles. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm poor. I'm Black. I can't really do anything. I'm not smart. I'm a woman. I'm older. I studied theater in New York. This is a wonderful example of that. I studied theater in New York. Shout out to Wendy Ward's theater, Ward Studios in New York. I did my Meisner training, my Meisner Conservatory training there in New York. I studied theater for 2 years. And prior to that, I had done some training in another school in Philadelphia, which will not be named because I love that school. And the story I'm going to tell you might not be the greatest story. But the teacher who was teaching me Meisner technique there said to me in front of the class, I was at the time in my late 20s, early 30s, and I had just decided to go out and start doing acting classes. And he said, parts for women in your age group are really slim to come by. They're few and far between. And the older you get, the more likely you will never be booked for a part, because you can't play the ingenue, which is the young 20-year-old. And, the only parts that you could get, and he really literally said this was, the prostitute, single mom, maybe. And then it was like, streetwalkers. Like it was a very derogatory statement. And that stuck to me enough for me to believe that. It to me enough to perhaps not pursue acting at that time, because I had the foundation of the metaphysics and understanding that I'm creating, and my energy and how I feel creates my life path. I didn't understand that. So it stuck to me for a long time. And that is an identity ego thing. That's the ego saying, well, he's right, and you're getting old, and you'll never be able to really gain any acting jobs, and that's not the truth. The truth is that once I can release that, and I can go out and step out of my comfort zone, which is this identity zone, which is this attachment to this role or this thought or this agreement that someone else gave me, when I can step out of that, then I can create something really abundant for myself. Needless to say, after that, I was in a movie that was on HBO. I did 2 off-Broadway plays. So I don't think he was entirely correct. I just think that part of that agreement that he granted to me or gifted to me made me feel that he was right and I was wrong, and that he knew better and I didn't, and I took that agreement on. So it's a limiting belief and it's an agreement. So, and it's an attachment to a belief, an attachment that he's right. That when we look at condition, because we've talked about condition on this channel many, many, many times, when we look around at condition and we look at then in 2009 or 2004, then there wasn't a lot of women of color or people of color winning Oscars or in prominent roles or getting paid, bringing in millions of dollar paychecks. We didn't have the Black Panther of it all. We didn't have the movies that came, the powerful, Get Out movies. We didn't have those. So we didn't have these billion-dollar franchises that were booking women of color, because I'm going to speak for me, or even people of color to do leading roles. So I agreed with him at then. Hindsight being 2020, I could have, had I stuck with the wherewithal, because I did have Angela Bassett to look at, and I did have, some of the Della Reese and some of the older women who were still creating parts and getting parts. I had those to look at, but I didn't understand the process of how to release the block within me, let go of the limiting belief, let go of that identity thought, that attachment to a role, and to step into power. So that's why these 3 steps, three soul coaching steps, or 3 soul coaching tidbits, really they're tidbits of understanding to help you shift your consciousness and integrate what is beautiful and loving about you, and help you to export out. It's like you're a computer and you need to process out, once you release all the crappy information, process out the good paper and hand it into the universe of school and get your A. That's really what we're doing. We are in this play, in this classroom, whatever analogy you want to use, that's what we're in. And we're creating the life that we want to live. We're creating it by loving and by experiencing and by filling our cup to overflowing with joyful experiences, so that in the long run, we can say that we loved enough. Thank you for stopping by. It's 4:14, 14 minutes and 44 seconds, September 11th. I'd like to send a prayer out for September 11th. And if you join me in that prayer, we're just going to close our eyes and say a small prayer for these ascended souls that have gone on from this September 11th. And planting our feet flat on the ground, closing our eyes. And taking an inhale and exhale with the sound of inhale. And traveling into the space behind the heart where God lives. The space where we move and have our being within that thing that is in back of the breath, which is known as God. And sending out with deep love and deep happiness and deep joy to the ascended souls from September 11th. We send joy and ease and comfort to all of you. We know fully and completely that you have transcended to something greater. And we ask that you send the energy of love and completion and joy back to us tenfold. For all the people that were affected by September 11th, we pray in solidarity of your continued growth and your continued processing, and that you, those that are here today still, may grow completely and fully in your radiant light. And that if you lost someone who was close to you, that you honor them by being the fullest and most beautiful you that you could be. And that doesn't go for just the people that actually lost someone. That goes for all of us. All of us that were affected and moved by that experience of September 11th. May we move our being into a higher dimension. May we open our soul to this beautiful consciousness of love. And may we, via just love, conquer everything that is not of the energy of love. May we learn to integrate all that we are into this expression of joy and live and walk in that expression of happiness, joy, and love. May we be a walking, shining example of what love looks like every time we leave the house or are in the house. And every time we come into contact with someone, may we be an expression of what love looks like without condition. Love without condition is what we are striving for. It's what we are. And the striving should be removed. And the are and the isness of love without condition. It's just love. Soft, open, welcoming love. And I plant this seed of love and knowing into law where it is made manifest right now. And so it is. Ashe, Hotep, blessed be. And with deep, deep love. Amen. And taking an inhale and exhale. And taking the chin to the chest and slowly opening the eyes and coming back into the awareness. I love you all so, so much. Thank you for stopping by my channel. This is your girl, Leanne, aka Lola. Remember to laugh often and love always. And this is my channel, Buddhism Butterflies. Hashtag sponsorship brought to you by my brand new, I hope you can see that, face cream. It's a face oil called Youthful. I have 3 versions of this coming out. Beautiful, youthful. It's jojoba, avocado, grapeseed, lemongrass, and kelp extracts. Beautiful for the youthful glow. That's why my skin looks so amazing. I only use this today on my face. Look how beautiful. So thank you again for stopping by my channel. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share me with a friend, because you know I'm super shareable. And I love you all. See you soon. Bye.